Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Devon Rex for Art here. So I haven't really been in my craft room very much lately. We've been having some renos done and workers coming and going, so it's hard to find some time to really sit down, and I was really happy to get back at my jelly plate. And what I'm working on today, it's just some random prints. A friend of mine, I was going to send her some jelly prints and asked her what color, if she had a theme, and she said she could really use some yellow because she doesn't have a lot of yellow. So I sat down just to play and try to make some yellow prints. I don't use yellow a lot. I mean, I like yellow, so it was nice to challenge myself to use a color I don't use that often. So I used a Stamperia stencil there with some pink iridescent PBO or Pebeo, and then I'm just going to I filled it up with some yellow and white, and here I'm just adding a little bit more of that pink over top. You need extra paint when you're going through a stencil, and just gonna push that through there. And she makes lots of interesting things. You can check her out on Instagram and on YouTube as well. It's Callie Crafty Pam. I'll link her YouTube channel below. And so I'm just trying to give her pieces to work with, not necessarily finished pieces. And then I'm adding a bit of yellow over top of this smaller paper. This is actually mineral paper, and it's really soft, but it doesn't wrinkle. It's very thin, and I haven't used it on the jelly plate before, so I was sort of testing it out. And then I decided to put this cool lady. This stencil is from Carrie Gibson Art. She also has a YouTube channel, which I'll link, and she sells stencils on her Etsy store. She's in the UK, and actually I think I ordered this about a year or so ago, and her pricing and shipping were quite reasonable. So I wanted to use that yellow again, and my friend likes pinks as well, so I'm combining yellow with pinks and purples quite a bit here. This Montmartre fluorescent acrylic paint was giving me a little bit of a hard time, so I kind of let it dry, and then I added a thicker layer, and I was pretty happy with how that looked. Now you see that strip on the left is yellow. That was from leftover of another print that I do a bit later. So I kind of put these in a different order so it kind of would make sense. Now I'm using some stencils from PM Artist Studios. I'll link them below, and I'm doing what Patricia calls her shadow technique, just randomly putting the stencil burring off without pulling up the paint. And then I'm just adding to the edges of this other print that I did to kind of grunge it up a little bit. Pretty happy with that. And I can see through the print to see where not to press down, so I'm just holding the paper up where I don't want it to pick up the paint. And I'm just going around the edges of the lady, and yeah, just using up the paint that's on there. It's staying wet pretty well. And then you'll see there's leftover paint there, which comes back into play later when we get back to the right order of things. So now we've traveled back in time, and I'm doing a print using these butterfly masks from PM Artist Studios. I'm using magenta, I think it's Liquitex Basics, and I break P's rule. I'm putting them all in one direction. Sorry. Patricia says to make them all face inwards so your eye stays in, and I just threw them on there. So I guess I'm a rule breaker. And I'm using the leftover, like the brayer paper to pick that up, to give my friends some more yellow papers, well, yellow, orange, pink. And I'm ripping that apart. It was a paper bag, and had been brayering off on it through the previous jelly prints, and some others as well, which I'll show at the end. And I'm adding some yellow, really bright Liquitex Basics. I think it's lemon yellow, I'm not sure. And that's where that paper came from that I picked up the girl stencil with. It was that white piece of paper I put over top there. And I'm using my little lid as my smoother outer. And here's another yellow paper with some butterflies. Up left, you can see, when I finished off that print with the lady on it, I was left over with some purple paint. So that's what I'm using here. And then I used a metallic white Artist Loft paint to add to this other print. and I wanted to add some more darkness around it, so I put the stencils back over top of where they were from, and I'm using magenta and this placemat, kind of doing, I guess, that shadow technique, which I didn't have a name for it before. I kind of naturally did it. Now this part would be easier if I had an acrylic plate to put my jelly plate on, but I don't have one yet, so I just kind of eyeball it. I use my the paper that the jelly prints on to slap it down over top of the stencils, and I think I did pretty good. I stayed centered pretty well, and I pull off those little masks, and I'm gonna let that dry. And I'm adding some of the dioxazine purple just with a paintbrush around the butterflies. So you don't always have to use a brayer on the jelly plate, and I'm using, because the butterfly part is dry, I can put down this mat again without lifting up any of that butterfly imprint. I'm just putting texture into the purple paint that I put around there. And you don't have to use a paintbrush, you can use your finger. So here I'm just finger painting on using those Montmart fluorescent acrylic paints, and trying to stay within the butterfly as best I can, dabbing it off a little bit, and then I think I add a little bit more. And then while that's drying, I'm going to go back to that other butterfly print, and I want to add a bit of grunginess to it. So I use my black Posca marker, and normally I spray it right away and it starts to spread out, but I couldn't get my sprayer working. So by the time I did get a sprayer working, it had pretty much dried where it was, so I just used a baby towel, baby wipe, and I had to kind of push and rub to make it more distressed. Usually it just kind of flows really well. And this is just on copy paper. So here I'm just doing part of it, and there I've got it working better. You can see that it sort of spreads out the paint, gives it sort of a grungy look. That's what I wanted to do on the top butterfly, but technical difficulties. But you just got to roll with it. And I'm just redoing the top butterfly, and just want to keep it loose. Not too perfect, not too precise. And then just a bit around the edges. And then this page, you know, could use a quote or not. I'm not sure where this is going. It doesn't have yellow on it, so I don't know if I'm going to send it to my friend. I might keep that one for myself. It's very wet, so I put it aside to dry. And then I'm picking up these butterflies with pink iridescent Pebeo paint. And this time I'm using like a linen resume paper to pick it up. And I don't know why it's upside down. I think I put it aside to let it set and dry a bit more. And I like it, but I just want to add a bit of detail to it. So I'm using a Inktense pencil, violet, around the edges, and I'm using a water brush to spread that. Once it dries, if you've dissolved the pigment, it's supposed to be pretty much permanent. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And I'm just kind of trying to fill in that background so the butterflies look like they're more on the surface. And I found that the halo around the butterfly could kind of fill it in a bit with that Inktense pencil if I just kind of dabbed at it and kept it a little bit darker. So just because, you know, I'm using the jelly plate doesn't mean that I have to always use the jelly plate. I don't have to stop there. Here I'm just adding, this is mixed media, right? So I'm adding, now I'm adding a fuchsia, I think, Inktense pencil, and then a bit of the violet again, just to outline that body of those butterflies. And I think I use the stencil or the mask again, and stencil a little bit of black to just let the body have more contrast. Oh, before I do that though, I use a yellow Arteza iridescent paint. It's very subtle. You can't really tell until I tilt the page that it kind of adds an extra shine to those wings. And I kind of put it thick so that it would be sort of have little ridges in it. All right, so now I'm doing the body with the black craft paint. Just carefully with that brush. These brushes work with ink and they work with paint as long as you wash them right away. So it's kind of coming along. I use a black ballpoint pen to just add more details and just kind of loosely. I want to keep it loose and free. And I think I'll film an outro to this. I have to think of a journal. I want to put some journaling words on there. So we'll see you back for a review of the prints, and by then I should have come up with some words.
The finished prints. I did find some words to add to that just from some magazine cutouts, and I did add a bit of extra detail to the center body, like some brighter colors and some more black. So I'm happy with how that one turned out. This one I added words from a magazine as well, Come As You Are. And I also added this cute stamp from Lavinia Stamps. I just put a little fairy there. And then just, I didn't do anything to these. I'm going to send these to my friend, let her do some stuff to them. This one too. This one I might keep. It's not as yellow as I wanted, so I'll probably incorporate that into a journal page. I'll put some words there, maybe like, I don't know, inside your dreams or something. We'll figure that out at a later date. And then this piece here I'm going to send to her. It's got some nice yellow, and I did make some other yellow pages to send to her as well. So yeah, for her to play with. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun. This is just a quick little play session, and please do all that YouTube-y stuff, like, subscribe, comment, share. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.